1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Romesh Piris and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The President to present an interim budget in the first week of September. The U.S. Secretary of State says Sri Lanka has an opportunity for inclusive democracy. Over 16,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer distributed island-wide. Reduce bus fares effective from today. Gas prices to reduce, Litro assures no more queues. The deadline given to protesters at Galle Face to vacate expires at 5 p.m. today. International news, Ukraine corrodes Russian forces in southern counter-offensive. Sports cricket, SLC Invitational T20 League from the 8th of August. News in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has announced that he is planning to present an interim budget in the first week of September. President Wickremesinghe has said through the interim budget he will provide several concessions and relief to the people. The matter was conveyed by the President during a discussion held last evening with a group of members of Parliament pertaining to the formation of an all-party government. The head of the state met representatives of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and other groups, including parliamentarians G.L. Paris and Dallas Alhapperuma. The President has said the aim of the all-party government is to convert the entire parliament into a government and rebuild the country. Meanwhile, President Ranil Wickremesinghe is scheduled to hold a special discussion with the representatives of the Samagijana Alliance this afternoon. The meeting will mainly focus on the formation of an all-party government, the proposed parliamentary committee system, and the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, says Sri Lanka is in a moment of challenge and crisis, but has an opportunity to create a more democratic and inclusive government. Blinken made the remarks in Cambodia at the start of a meeting with his Sri Lankan counterpart, Ali Sabri, who said his country appreciates the U.S. role in securing support from the International Monetary Fund. The two were meeting on the sidelines of a regional gathering in Cambodia. The National Transport Commission says normal bus fares will be reduced by 11.14% in line with the recent reduction in the prices of auto diesel. Accordingly, the minimum bus fare will be reduced from 38 rupees to 34 rupees. The Director General of NTC, Dr. Nilan Miranda, said, addressing a special media briefing, that the reverse bus fares should be displayed on buses. Dr. Miranda added that the passengers can lodge complaints about the bus conductors charging higher fares or not issuing tickets by contacting the NTC's 24-hour hotline number 1955. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The chairman of the Litro Gas Company, Mudita Piris, has confirmed that the price of gas will be reduced from today according to the price formula for gas introduced by the Ministry of Finance. Piris claimed that Sri Lanka possesses sufficient stocks of gas to ensure that queues will not be formed in the future. He noted that the positive aspect of the price formula is that benefits of gas prices reducing in the world market will be granted to the public. He also explained that shipments for August, September and October have been confirmed. The deadline given to protesters at the Galle Face to remove all structures and vacate the area expires at 5 p.m. today. Officers of the Fort Police Station have informed protesters yesterday and the day before of the deadline. The notice by the Fort Police stated that the protesters must adhere to the law and refrain from disrupting public order. The Fort Police notice also stated that individuals who fail to heed the notice will face legal action. A group of protesters left the agitation site next to the Presidential Secretariat yesterday, heeding the court order. The Minister of Defence said the National Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force under the ministry has noted that an increasing number of Sri Lankans are arriving in Malaysia under visit visas with the belief that these visas could be converted to working visas. Many persons that managed to get the entry endorsed into Malaysia on a visit visa have later found out that they have been tricked by job agents and they are forced to work in harsh, inhumane conditions with little pay and no labor rights and thus become victims of human trafficking. Therefore, the National Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force of Sri Lanka advises citizens of Sri Lanka that visit visas to Malaysia cannot be converted into work visa upon arrival and urges Sri Lankans who are seeking employment abroad to do so via legitimate and authentic avenues. And that ends local news for now. Coming up next is the main news story.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
In the main news story, a total of 16,272 metric tons of urea fertilizer has been distributed to the Agrarian Service Centre across the island. The Government of India has provided urea fertilizer to Sri Lanka under a credit line scheme, and its distribution activities are being carried out to farmers through agrarian service centres around the island. Accordingly, Government told Sri Lanka Fertilizer Corporation and Commercial Fertilizer Company have distributed 16,272.59 metric tons island-wide. The Department of Agrarian Development informed Agriculture Minister Mahinda Amaravira on Thursday. According to the officials of the Department of Agrarian Services, Polonnaruwa district has received the highest amount of urea fertilizer for paddy cultivation this yellow season. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara says the existing profiles created to obtain the National Fuel Pass QR code can be deleted and new ones can be created if the need arises. Minister Wijesekara meanwhile requested users of the National Fuel Pass not to display the QR code anywhere visible to others. The minister said the code must be kept in a secured place and users must prevent others from using it illegally. Meanwhile, 5.3 million profiles have been registered thus far to obtain the National Fuel Pass QR code.
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
In world news, the headlines. Ukraine corrals Russian forces in southern counter-offensive. US declares monkeypox outbreak a public health emergency. France mulls rescue plans for beluga whales stranded in River Seine. World news in detail. Ukraine has deepened a counter-offensive in the south of the country in the 23rd week of the war, striking Russian garrisons and ammunition stockpiles, forcing Russia to bring in reinforcement and weakening other fronts as a result. Ukraine also scored a diplomatic victory. Russia has agreed to lift its blockade of Black Sea ports to allow Ukrainian grain exports, which Ukraine estimates will bring in $10 billion in much-needed revenue. The U.S. government has declared the monkeypox outbreak a public health emergency following a spike in cases. The decision will speed up the distribution of vaccines, treatment and federal resources to curb the spread of the virus. It comes less than a fortnight after the World Health Organization issued its highest emergency alert following a worldwide surge in cases. Cases have topped 6,600 in the U.S., according to health officials. More than 26,000 cases have been confirmed worldwide this year, data from the U.S. Center for Disaster Control and Prevention shows. A beluga whale has been spotted in the France's River Seine, and officials are now deciding how to save a mammal more suited to cold Arctic waters. They say the animal is currently near a loch at Vernon, about 70 kilometers northwest of Paris. Members of the public are being urged to keep away from the whale that appears to be underweight. Experts are puzzled as to why the whale has stayed so far south from its natural habitat. Back to the headlines of the world news. Ukraine corrals Russian forces in southern counter-offensive. U.S. declares monkeypox outbreak a public health emergency. France mulls rescue plan for beluga whales stranded in River Seine. And that ends world news. On to development news. Cabinet approval has been requested to provide assistance to small and medium enterprises to provide them dollars to open LCs to assist to import raw materials, tax concessions and loan facilities. Speaking to the media at the weekly Cabinet media briefing, spokesman Mass Media Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that the granting of duty concessions to the garment industry has become one of the main sectors earning foreign exchange to Sri Lanka, even amidst COVID-19 pandemic circumstances. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers granted approval to the proposal made by the Industries Minister to grant duty concessions coming under 19 harmonized system codes as a remedy to the prevailing situation. And that was development news.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
In cricket news, the public will be allowed to witness the SLC Invitational T20 League, which will commence from the 8th of August at the R. Premdanta International Cricket Stadium. Entry for the matches will be on a free-of-charge basis. The 4 teams competition, which will be contested between the Reds, Greens, Blues and Greys, will be focused on preparing the national team for the upcoming T20 Asia Cup and the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. Each team will play 3 matches in the first round, whilst the top 2 teams in the points table will feature in the finals, which is set to be played on the 15th of August. Meanwhile, in other cricket news, Tourism Minister Harin Fernando has decided to appoint cricketing legend Sanath Jayasuriya as the Tourism Ambassador of Sri Lanka. The former all-rounder is a hugely popular figure around the world, and it's reported that Jayasuriya has agreed to be part of Sri Lanka's tourism promotion events voluntarily, especially targeting India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and the Maldives.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Members of Sri Lankan Airlines' frequent flyer program, Fly Smiles, can now donate their miles to worthy causes fronted by Sri Lankan Cares, the airline's corporate social responsibility arm. Donated miles will enable patients, especially children from disadvantaged backgrounds, to travel overseas for life-saving medical treatment and would otherwise be unattainable to them. Fly Smiles members can donate 1,000 miles or more to the Sri Lankan Cares medical ticket scheme as often as they please. Sri Lankan Cares will use donated miles to issue redeemed air tickets for patients hailing from low-income backgrounds and suffering from life-threatening conditions to travel abroad for medical procedures that are unavailable in Sri Lanka. For more information on donating Fly Smiles miles to Sri Lankan Cares, visit www.srilankan.com/Fly Smiles. That's www.srilankan.com/Fly Smiles. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
On to economic news, the Colombo Port City Regulatory Commission said the Central Bank and the Finance Ministry has approved 4 licenses to set up offshore banks in the China-backed Colombo Port City area. The Port City area, reclaimed by China Harbour Engineering Group, is to be a dollarized area free from the monetary instability and exchange controls coming from rupee open market operations of the Central Bank. Colombo Port City Economic Commission said 6 land sales valued at $200 million have been issued to investors. They are expected to invest $600 million. And that was economic news. And on to the weather report. The Department of Meteorology says the prevailing heavy rain weather in southwestern part of the island is expected to gradually reduce from today. Showers will occur at times in the western Sabragamo and central provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy rainfalls, about 50 millimeters, can be expected at some places in the Sabragama province and in the Kandy, Nuwara Galle and Mathura districts. Several spells of showers may occur in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces. Strong winds of about 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times along the western slopes of the central hills and in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces. Sea areas prevailing a strong windy condition in the western and southern sea areas are expected to reduce gradually from tomorrow. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the sea areas around the island. And that was the report. And to conclude the headlines again, the President to present an interim budget in the first week of September. The US Secretary of State says Sri Lanka has an opportunity for inclusive democracy. Over 16,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer distributed island-wide. Reduced bus fares effective from today. Gas prices to reduce. Litro assures no more queues. The deadline given to protesters at the Galle phase to vacate expires at 5 p.m. today. International news, Ukraine corrodes Russian forces in southern counter-offensive. Sports, cricket, SLBC Invitational T20 League from August 8th. And with that, we conclude this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.